Where are you? Do you want hamburger helper? You're not gonna be a dick. You could have just said no. Hello everyone, and thanks for joining me. In this video, I'm going to attempt to convince you to give VR horror a try for longer than a few seconds. Look, I'm not gonna lie and tell you that VR horror isn't scary. It is. It's terrifying, but it's also exhilarating fun. There are a lot of great VR horror games out there, and if you can get past that fear, an extensive catalog of games is now right at your fingertips. I got past that fear, and I'm so glad that I did. And in this video, I'm going to try and help you find out if you're like me, a person who vowed to never play horror, who's now converted. If you're not a VR horror player, that's fine. You may never like it. But I'm willing to bet that some of you will like it, especially the immersion junkies like myself. For as long as I can remember, I hated or had no interest in horror games. I thought they were shallow, kind of cheap games that centered around jump scares, and quite honestly, I didn't find the prospect of being scared, well, entertaining, really. I never liked scary movies, and I guess then by default I formed the same opinion on the horror genre as a whole. But if there's one thing that VR has taught me over the years, it's that it's a transformative medium. And sometimes you just need to experience a game to see if it's any good. And I think that same point is true for VR horror. I'm sure you've heard it before. VR does horror really well. And I mean really well. But not just jump scares or grotesque monsters. Hell, I still don't like jump scares, unless they serve a greater purpose. And that purpose is to build suspense and tension. The threat of a good jump scare will keep you on the edge. You never know what's around that next corner, making the experience more thrilling. With VR horror, you're going to find yourself slowly peeking around the corners of hallways, checking over your shoulder, and so much more. VR and horror is just a potent combination. So why do I think this recipe of terror will appeal to you, the VR enthusiast who doesn't like horror? Well, to figure that out, we need to first determine what makes you put on the headset. For most of you, that answer is probably number 1, immersion, and number 2, fresh, innovative gameplay. VR horror devs specialize in creating rich and immersive atmospheres. And if you give VR horror games a chance, you might just have a moment where you realize you've been missing out. Well, for me, that moment came somewhere in the middle of Resident Evil Village, which was actually the first horror game that I ever played. Yeah, I kind of jumped in with 2 feet and had to convince myself to keep playing. Thankfully, it's a true AAA experience, and that kept me coming back. Taking in all the detailed environments, the game's rich atmosphere, made me realize that this is exactly why I play VR games. It wasn't to be scared, but to experience a game to its fullest, to engage with it using all of my senses. When playing a horror game, you are so in tune with the game. You're listening to everything. You're looking everywhere, fully engaged. You develop such a sense of presence in the virtual world. You pick up on every sound. Approaching footsteps, a creaking door, a distant scream can be all it takes to send a chill down your spine. Right, I can hear you. You're saying, I don't want this type of immersion. That means I gotta power wash out the underwear. There's a good chance you've already played a VR horror game and loved it. And that game is Half-Life Alyx. Okay, no, that's not really accurate. Alyx isn't a horror game, but it does have horror elements. What's the most memorable level of that entire game? Alyx is an amazing game top to bottom, but what level is burned into your memory forever because it was so amazing, so unique, unlike anything you had ever experienced before? If you said Jeff, then you need to play more VR horror games. The game design of the Jeff sequences is a masterpiece of VR because it utilizes traditional horror elements to elevate an already great experience. All of a sudden, you can't defend yourself. You gotta try and solve a damn puzzle with this monster lurking around in the dark. All you can do is really send in the other way, then suddenly, you're forced to confront him again. And when you finally get past it, you're like, holy shit, that was fucking nuts. But Jeff had you so immersed in the experience. You tried not to breathe too loud. You covered your mouth so you wouldn't cough, and you even tried to open your ears harder to figure out where Jeff was lurking. That level of immersion is hard to top. You used every biological sense the human body has, and maybe even tried to invent a few just to escape something in a video game. And that's the power of VR horror. Alex isn't a horror game, but it can serve as a gateway or stepping stone to more traditional horror games. But if you're still with me, don't just jump into the scariest damn thing you can find. Think of it kind of like building your VR legs. Ease yourself into it. There are a few games and steps you can do to build, we'll call it horror shorts. For starters, let's get those shorts fitted by playing light horror games like Saints and Sinners or Alex. Or play them again. Chances are you won't find Jeff as scary this time around because you know what to expect. The biggest thing with VR horror, and really horror in general, is the fear of the unknown. So just figure out what that unknown is. Die a few times. Let Jeff eat you. You're gonna be okay. You'll die, but you'll rise from the ashes with more confidence. Just don't forget to save first. If it's too much for you, play in small doses. Take a breather. Calm yourself down, but keep pushing forward. Figure out what that unknown is. Chances are your imagination is scarier than reality, or virtual reality in this case. Now, if you've already done that and you agree with me, move on to step 2. Show off your stylish new horror shorts to some friends. Play multiplayer horror games. Strength in numbers, damn it. When you're with a group of friends, it really takes the edge off. Just remember to stick together. Don't have any friends who play VR horror? Neither did I. Join a Discord, ask around, see if you can find some people to brave it with you. Chances are you will, because people who play VR multiplayer games all just want the same thing, to play with other people. The 2 multiplayer horror games I recommend the most are Phasmophobia and Devour. Have someone show you the ropes and get past that fear of the unknown. I couldn't even get past the damn tutorial in Phasmophobia by myself. That dark house was just too damn creepy for me. But with a group of friends, you don't hear all the creaks and creepy noises, and you can kind of judge what to do based on their reactions. If that door next to them just creepily opened up and they didn't freak out or even react, chances are it's not going to hurt you. While both of these titles are amazing VR games, they're also really good flat screen games. You can conquer that fear of the unknown by playing the game in a less immersive and scary way on a monitor. And better yet, you can buy both of those games for under $20 total. That's not even counting a sale. So the financial risk isn't that scary either. Okay, now we got you sized and fitted for your horror shorts, and your friends agree that you're looking good. Now, on to step 3. Let's take them for a test run without the training wheels. Step 3 is to move past the reliance on multiplayer, but only do this once you've conquered that unknown. Stick with Phasmophobia and then maybe Devour, but it's not as balanced for single player. Anyway, Phasmo is scarier alone. Keep reminding yourself that you've seen the worst this game has to offer. So if that ghost talks back on the spirit box, now you're mentally prepared for when it says it's going to kill you. And it's okay to be scared. I still get shivers when playing this game alone. You might not enjoy the solo experience as much, but if you do, or hell, if you like it more, it's time for step 4. Tossing those horror shorts into the laundry for another go. So, you're feeling snug with your warm shorts fresh out the dryer, it's time to move on to a single player horror game that's kind of more action focused. Something like Resident Evil Village. Now, if you're going to do exactly that, know this. Village is a scary game, but it's really not a game of jump scares. I mean, there's maybe a few, and honestly most of them are early on. Instead of jump scares, Capcom focused on creating tension through atmosphere. Aside from that, there are a lot of weapons you can protect yourself with, and the gunplay is pretty damn good. And just play in small doses, take breaks, but come back to it. Keep pushing forward. Remember, die a few times and save often. After time, I personally didn't find Village all that scary, as I was more in awe of the game's atmosphere, character animations, and incredible boss fights. I mean, seriously, those boss fights in VR are epic. Village has the best character and facial animations I've ever seen. And when you witness animations this good through the lenses, Your brain just subconsciously connects with this digital content in a very human way. And that kind of immersion is potent. It'll remind you why you bought your headset in the first place. And before you know it, the credits are rolling, and you have an overwhelming sense of accomplishment that you fought through this terrifying game. And that's it. That's the last step. If you've gotten through RE8 and liked it, take a look at what else is out there. Okay, I guess there is a step 5. Just start exploring what else your horror shorts can handle. And there you have it. Hopefully this video will help you find some new games to play. But know this, once you bloody your hands playing VR horror, it's hard to get them clean. Okay, fine. What about rice-a-roni? Oh, you don't even want it fresh? You're disgusting.